Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Here I am. Okay, all right. I was hitting the wrong button. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. Does the camera look fuzzy at the moment? Let me see if I can clean the lens. That's probably what our situation is. Lots of things going on. Just 1 second. Let's see. Is that better? Maybe. We will see. Good morning, everybody. Let's try that again. I think that's better. Let's see. Good morning, James Bacon. And good morning, Lynn. Let's see. With the new time change approaching, 7:42 will be the new 7. Yes, I know. I'm doing terribly. I'm really doing terribly with that, and I don't like that. I'm doing terribly. I was still trying to think of what we were going to do today. If things work better. First of all, I've not been up early in forever. I've gotten my sleep schedule completely off, And then I was still trying to figure out what it is we were going to be looking at today. If I'm up early and the night before I've chosen our topic and I'm completely ready, things go better. I've got to fix that. I've got to fix that in a big way. Let's see here. Good morning, Robert. Robert says, search rooms knocked out. I love the continued progress here. Search rooms knocked out. Let's AI generate items and prevent repeated searches to prevent farming. We'll add chance of random item generation to round it out. Good morning, BGD. Zero the Blade. I hope everything got fixed with your situation yesterday. If anyone have a bottle, mind passing it. Could use a gulper. Oh, that actually sounds like it didn't. Oh, I know. Yesterday you said you had some damage because of storms and we're working on getting equipment back up and running. I hope everything is okay. Table talk does not help with the sleep schedule. No, yesterday I was actually back. Yesterday I was up and running. I was tired. I was slower today. I was up and running after the long table talk. Yesterday, pretty good, but I think it all caught up with me this morning. I did watch last night. We're talking about, by the way, a spark in Fate. A spark in Fate. I thought it was a spark of Fate. It's a spark in Fate, which is a collaborative world building toolkit for Fate Core. This was brought up over the past couple of days while we were taking a look at the Microscope RPG. So this is the collaborative world building part for Fate. So I thought this would be a good thing to look at. Checking all of my notes right here. There's some things that still need a deeper dive, but we're going to get to those later. We're doing a spark in Fate. I did last night decide to watch the last Ahsoka episode. So I watched episode 5. So I'm current with it. I need to reach out to Retro Nerd Girl. She wants to talk Star Wars. So I might reach out to her. And then also you guys told me that I should watch Andor. So I might do that since I've got Disney Plus at the moment. Go ahead and try to get it knocked out. Good morning, PH. But yes, what you're talking about, Brett, when we accidentally go, we started accidentally going late. And I love going late. I love the long discussions for the table talk. I love the long table talk discussions. But if I had known that, I would have started earlier. that was going to happen. So we used to start at 7:30, like the late night, the night stream at 7:30, and things were running late there. And so I moved back to 7. You know, when I was doing dinner and a board game, I moved that back to 6. But there are other reasons why on a weeknight I can't start as early as 6. So I have to start with 7 and can go late. Good morning, Sable. So I have still been really working on a bunch of admin stuff. I didn't realize how long that was going to take. I am really interested and excited to get back to a bunch of creative projects and then start reporting back on them, especially during World Building Wednesdays. World Building Wednesdays is also hard because of Table Talk on Tuesdays, because there's a lot to think about on World Building Wednesdays. And undoubtedly, the hardest morning grinds so far have been the ones coming after a late night table talk. So I'm going to have to think about what to do about that. So might have to do some world building on some other days. So this is a Spark in Fate Core, a collaborative world building toolkit for Fate Core, written by Jason Jason Pitter. So based on Fate Core by Evil Hat Productions and based on Spark by Genesis of Legend Publishing. So I didn't know what this was. Spark by Genesis of Legend Publishing, but apparently this is its own RPG. This text is released under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 unported CC BY 3.0 license. Feel free to build derivative works on this text or use it in commercial products and to change what you like. So there we go. Looking at our license arrangement. Oh, we need to breathe and sip here. Good morning, TSL frontman. Oh, Pitra. Oh, okay. TSL frontman saying this is Jason Pitra. Thank you for the correction. BGD says, I'm rewatching Andor currently. The direction, the depth of the story, and the production design choices all work. It's worthwhile if you haven't seen it. Yeah, I hadn't seen it. So I just stopped watching Disney Star Wars. I really would have just stopped. I watched I was really, I really enjoyed The Mandalorian through season 2. I was really enjoying The Mandalorian, and then when we saw the advertisement for the Book of Boba Fett after The Mandalorian season 2, I was really excited about it. I guess that was my height of Disney Star Wars for me right there. But then it took a long time to get Boba Fett, and I was busy while it was coming out. But I did end up watching it, but I didn't think that was all that great. And then I tried to get into Kenobi, but only watched a few episodes and stopped. So that was I was kind of out on Star Wars. And that probably happened to a lot of people as far as Andor goes, that a lot of people were just out and so never picked it up. I hear mixed, good things from some people and bad things from others about Andor. So maybe I will. I've got Disney Plus right now, so might as well. Good morning, Stray. Oh, thank you very much for the Discord link. Okay, so what is this? A spark in Fate core. What is this about? Oh, we were trying to breathe and sip. So here we go. Everybody, I got your I got my fish do not drink tea mug this morning. Fish do not drink tea. So everybody got your favorite beverage. Let's breathe. 2 deep breaths in, complete breaths out, and then take a sip. Here we go. And sip. Ah, there we go. So this document was created as a stretch goal for the Spark role-playing game Kickstarter campaign. If you enjoy the collaborative world building presented here, please consider taking a look at the original game where I present an alternate approach or collaborative setting creation. Treat this like an alternate version of Chapter 2 in Fate Core. It's okay. So because I was actually looking when people were saying, or I forget who it was, but was calling out, "Oh, take a look at a spark in Fate Core." I thought that was like a part of Fate Core that I had missed. So there are rules in there for kind of the collaborative world building, although it's very light. You know, it's kind of like a collaborative setting creation. Like, what type of setting are we playing in Fate? So this is designed to give you a more comprehensive world building process that will probably take most of your first session. So whereas the purpose of the Microscope RPG was to build the world, and as was pointed out in the chat, it took a long time, or you could definitely use the Microscope RPG to build out a world, then to go and later role play in, like with using something like Fate Core, or it could be something else. But Fate probably works really well with that. Fate also often has the collaborative world building. So this is meant as a first session for collaborative world building for the purposes of playing with Fate. Thank you. BGD says, don't forget to like today's stream and support the channel. Please do. Yes. If you are here, if you're just finding us, please do like and subscribe to the channel. That would be very helpful. Like, subscribe, share, let somebody know that what we're doing this morning. I do have to make sure that my I thought that we were now up at morning grind number 300, but I could be wrong about that. I may have accidentally got my number screwed up by about 1 or 2 yesterday. When I go back and I start adding the morning grind to the playlists, so I haven't updated the playlist lately. I want to be sure that we have the numbers for the morning grind right. So this is either episode 300 or right at episode 300. Where this came from, in the beginning, there was Fred Hicks and Rob Donahue. The dynamic duo who founded Evil Hat provided much of the initial ideas that found their way into this book. The token-based facts generation came from Fred's mind, while the roots of the Dresden City Files city creation process is credited to Bob. The first Fate game included a map where I named territories but defined nothing else about them. Players made it awesome. Fred Hicks. Ryan Macklin then contributed to this subject, working on the redesign of the city creation system for Dresden Files. Ryan, have we looked at the Dresden Files RPG explicitly on the morning grind? I don't think that we have. Although I hear that that's also got a lot of somebody honking outside. I don't think that was for me. I've heard that also has a lot of good ideas. Okay. Anyway, those ideas were carried into the second. Okay, so let's go. To me, the job of the world building is the job of creating points of tension characters can slot into. If you don't have a variety of these, you don't have a world, you have a dungeon, perhaps in different clothes. And that's Ryan Macklin. While Ryan and Leonard developed Fate Core, I had been developing my own game with a focus on collaborative setting generation. I always had a passion for world building, and I wrote a game to explore that subject. I took the process from Spark RPG and added it to the Fate Core system to create this new approach. Now it's your turn to build upon what we've created. We can't wait to see what you come up with. You know, I was actually wondering if something like the Microscope RPG would work for setting development for something like Rabivania or Theophany, well, or even the Black Cipher, or actually that's kind of the experimental world. That one could be the one to do it with, or a world like that, or arguably those are my worlds. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what develops has to be canonical in a world building, a collaborative world building situation. You could take these things, you could build the world collaboratively, and then, but that doesn't, and there might be ideas that are generated in there that are absolutely fantastic. There might be also some things that you come out with and you're like, well, I want to revise personally for like publication. That by the time it goes on the game, it would be everybody's. But then once, and develop these ideas, but then when it's being written up for publication, things get changed around if things actually go in some kind of way that I don't want to be canonical. But I bet there would be ideas that are put out there and developed in, a 3-hour session or something using Microscope, or maybe this, that I wouldn't have seen before and could make the whole setting much more enriching. Star Wars. Oh, thank you. Oh, Stray says, and remember to check out the Ravenkeep online store. Yes, I hadn't been actually pushing that lately because this stream is not always just about pushing whatever is out there. But the mugs, the Fish Do Not Drink Tea mug is up actually on the Ravenkeep online store. So there are Cultist coffee mugs, the Witch's Brew mugs. I still have a few left, and then also the Fish Do Not Drink Tea mugs. That all comes from the Cultists, by the way. They are on ravenkeep.net. Sable says, Star Wars started in film and is and always will remain the kind of story that is filmic, not episodic. Oh, I guess it's going back to the discussion of Andor, despite them being named episode 4, 5, etc. Well, Sable Phoenix says, television series for Star Wars was the death knell, in my opinion. I don't know if it was the death knell. It could be. But to me, I always cared most about Star Wars set piece movies. That, okay, there's going to be a Star Wars movie. This is something I really need to pay attention to. I didn't really pay attention to any of the animated stuff, which is why actually Ahsoka, another friend of mine described Ahsoka as Rebels season 5. And I'm not familiar with, I know I watched some of Clone Wars and some of Rebels, particularly at Lou Anders. Lou's been on the channel before, particularly at Lou's request, because he said that a lot of it was really great Star Wars. So I did watch some of it. And Doug has said the same thing, but I just didn't pay attention. And I can't watch constant TV series. So I do like, I prefer, I think with Star Wars, I prefer the big movies that are amazing. James says, I love Jim Butcher. I jumped into the Dresden Files after I saw the show in Sci-Fi Hologen years ago. I got all my friends into the books too. Excellent stuff. I have not gotten into the Dresden Files yet, but I know a lot of people who are. TSL Frontman says, by the way, Jason Pitra also does incredible work running, recording the RPG design panel cast, Q&A conversation panels featuring various published game designers on specific topics. Oh, okay. The RPG design panel cast. I'm going to look that up over here in another window because to go make sure I pay attention to that. RPG design panel cast. A podcast by Jason Petra. All right, so we may want to check these out. I'm looking at this on Podbean, but okay, so we should definitely check that out. Okay, so continuing on to figure out what this is here. Now it's your turn to build upon what we created. We can't wait to see what you come up with. When creating your game, you start by listing your favorite media, explain the inspirations from your media, use these inspirations to describe the genre, describe how epic or personal in scale your story will be, establish facts about the setting, create a title to focus for your vision, create a list of sparks, potential issues for the settings, select the issues, picking 3 of them from the list of sparks, create 2 faces for each issue. 2 faces for each issue, create a place for each unused spark. Okay, so what makes a good Fate game? You can use Fate to tell stories in many different genres with a variety of premises. There is no default setting. You and your group will make that up yourself. The very best Fate games, however, have certain ideas in common with one another, which we think best showcase what the game is designed to do. Whether you're talking about fantasy, science fiction, superheroes, or gritty cop shows, Fate works best when you use it to tell stories about people who are proactive, competent, and dramatic. And that's something that I do really like. Proactive, competent, and dramatic. Not sitting around in your laboratory, which is why alchemists still don't work and really get good alchemy. But proactive, competent, and dramatic. Proactivity. Characters in a game of Fate should be proactive. They have a variety of abilities that lend themselves to active problem solving, and they aren't timid to use them. They don't sit around waiting for the solution. I think this is also probably talking about this because it said use this as a replacement for Chapter 2 in Fate Core. So characters in a game of Fate should be proactive. They have a variety of abilities that lend themselves to active problem solving, and they aren't timid about using them. They don't sit around waiting for a solution to a crisis to come to them. They go out and apply their energies, taking risks and overcoming challenges to achieve their goals. This doesn't mean they don't ever plan or strategize or that they're all careless to a fault. It just means that the most patient among them will eventually rise and take action in a tangible, demonstrable way. Any game of Fate you play should give a clear opportunity for the characters to be proactive in solving their problems and have a variety of ways they might go about it. A game about librarians spending all their time among dusty tomes and learning things isn't Fate. A game about librarians using forgotten knowledge to save the world is. Competence. Characters in a game of Fate are good at things. They aren't bumbling fools who routinely look ridiculous when they're trying to get things done. They're highly skilled, talented, or trained individuals who are capable of making visible change the world they inhabit. They are the right people for the job, and they get involved in a crisis because they have a good chance of being able to resolve it for the better. This doesn't mean they always succeed or their actions are without unintended consequence. It just means that when they fail, it isn't because they made dumb mistakes or weren't prepared for the risks. Any Fate game that you play should treat the characters like competent people worthy of the risks and challenges that come their way. A game about garbage men who are forced to fight supervillains and get their asses constantly handed to them isn't a game. A game about garbage men who become an awesome anti-supervillain hit squad is. Let's see. Trey says, Dresden Files Accelerated is one of my favorite Fate games. I love how it deals with stress and conditions. If you have read the books, it's very focused on sticky, fleeting, lasting. For things like debts and issues. James says this is a good checklist for more than just setting a game. I agree. TSL Fartman says, yes, the RPG design panel cast, about 300 episodes now, though like the first 100 had rough mic quality. Look for it in Spotify, etc. Drama. Characters in a game of Fate lead dramatic lives. The stakes are always high for them, both in terms of what they have to deal with in their world and what they're dealing with in the 6 inches of space between their ears. Like us, they have interpersonal trouble and struggle with their issues, though the external circumstances of their lives might be a bit bigger in scope than what we go through. We can still relate to it and sympathize with them. This doesn't mean they spend all their time wallowing in misery and pain, or that everything in their lives is always a world-shaking crisis. It just means their lives require them to make hard choices to live with consequences. In other words, that they're essentially human. Any Fate game that you play should provide the potential and opportunity for drama among and between the characters and give you a chance to relate to them as people. A game about adventurers mindlessly punching increasingly numbers of bigger, badder bad guys is not Fate. A game about adventurers struggling to lead normal lives despite being destined to fight ultimate evil is. Okay, so step 1. So this is in the context of creating your game. Make sure my watch is on my charger. The morning grind is a great time to charge a watch. Step 1, list your favorite media. Go around the table and ask each person to name one of their favorite media. This could be a book, a movie, a video game, comic, poem, song. It's okay if other people don't know the media someone mentions, so try to make them unique. Write these down on a sheet under the heading of media. So Amanda, Lenny, Lily, and Ryan sit down to talk about the setting. Amanda speaks up and mentions her love for the TV series Leverage. Lenny, by contrast, was reading up on the classics and suggested the Falfherd and the Grey Mouser stories written by Fritz Leiber. Lily decides to throw the TV series Babylon 5 into the mix. Ryan names the Game of Thrones series as a potential piece of media. So we have list media right here. So those are written out. Step 2, gather inspirations. Now go around the table. Now everyone explains what they like most about their choice. Make a numbered list of these explanations under the heading of inspirations. Each person can add more inspirations to the list if they want. This step is about gathering ideas and brainstorming. You assemble a list of ingredients that you would like to include in the setting. The more ingredients, the more material you have available to define the world. You don't have to use all of your inspirations, so don't worry if there are a lot of them. Now, the group starts talking about the things that interest them from their media. Amanda explains that she loves the idea of heroic heists in Leverage. Lenny was a fan of the gritty urban adventures of Falfherd and the Grey. Lily tells the others the cosmopolitan cultural diversity of the Babylon 5 is interesting. Ryan is a fan of the subtle and hidden magic in Game of Thrones. Amanda mentions that swords are great. Ryan mentions that organized crime would be a fun obstacle. So here we have those things listed out. Heroic heists, gritty urban adventures, cosmopolitan cultural diversity, subtle and hidden magic, swords, and organized crime. These things we think are cool. Trey says, if anyone is wanting to get into Dresden, I cannot recommend the audio books enough. James Marsters, Spiky from Buffy, does a great job. Stormfront is the first book. Stormfront? Well, that actually might be a good way for me to get into Dresden. I should probably be listening to audiobooks a lot more while I'm working in the yard and cutting grass. Step 3, describe the genre. As a group, consider all the inspirations and decide on a single genre for your setting. Here's a few common genres you can pick from, though this isn't a comprehensive list. Alternative history, fantasy, modern, romance, mystery, horror, sci-fi, superhero. Once you have your genre, you get to explain what exactly makes your setting different from other settings within the genre. Create a single adjective or noun to describe those differences. The best descriptors are emotional, cultural, or philosophical. This step provides a common vision to interpret your inspirations and establish facts, with the genre and descriptor on the sheet. So the group settles on sword and sorcery with a genre pretty easily. Okay, Lenny did make a passing comment that a romance would be interesting, but Amanda reminded him that swords are awesome. Next up, with coming up with a descriptor, Lily mentioned that a cosmopolitan sword and sorcery would be a nice contrast to other books and movies in the genre. So we've got genre type, sword and sorcery, descriptor, cosmopolitan. Oh, there are like 20 Dresden books now? I know that a lot of people, I mean, the friends of mine I know have been reading them. Aren't we still waiting for more Dresden books? I think that's one of the series that, like, my aunt is still waiting for more books to come out. Step 4, determine the scale. Decide how epic or personal your story will be. The setting might be small or it might be vast, but where your stories take place determines the scale in your game. On a small scale game, characters deal with problems in a city or region. They don't travel a great deal and the problems are local. In a large scale game involves dealing with problems that affect the world, a civilization, or even a galaxy, if the genre you're playing in can handle that kind of thing. Sometimes a small-scale game will turn into a large-scale one over time, as you've probably seen in long-running novel series or television shows. So Amanda likes the vibe of guy and girl with a sword and thinks it'll shine in a small-scale game where they might travel from town to town, but the problems they have to deal with are local, like a thieves' guild or a region's vile meticulations. Scale descriptor, small scale. Step 5, establish facts. In this step, you'll establish facts about the setting. Each fact expresses 2 different inspirations on the sheet and is established by asking a few questions. So we are establishing facts here. Everyone at the table should take 2 tokens from the supply. The GM then starts the process of asking 1 question about the setting. Questions must be based on the inspirations you've previously created, and ideally, they should focus on how 2 specific inspirations interrelate. Anyone with a token may put that token in. So, okay, everybody's got 2 tokens. Yeah, okay, yes. Anyone with a token may put that token forward into the middle of the table and claim the right to answer that question by creating facts about the setting. The best facts are evocative, concise, and specific. Feel free to create some interesting names for people, events, and factions, but you're not obliged to explain them. Everyone else can offer suggestions and elaborations on that fact, but the person who paid the token gets the final say. So long as everyone is comfortable with a fact, write it down on the sheet under the heading facts. So there is also, we're writing this down, obviously, on some type of sheet. There is some kind of catalog sheet. I noticed that when I downloaded this, and this was a free download from Drive-Thru RPG. It looks like there was also a worksheet separate. In fact, let me just check that out. But it looks like back here at the back, this is also our worksheet back here. But let me see what else this other thing is that I downloaded and see if it's just a repeat of the Spark and Fate worksheets. Okay, yes, it's the same thing as what I'm looking at right here. So here is our complete worksheet. I guess this is kind of like working at a character sheet. So list media, gather inspiration, describe and describe scale. So we are on established facts right now. Title, create spark, select the issues, create faces, create places. So we've got a 2-page worksheet that we're working through here. And we are on create facts, establish facts. In this step, we were just there. So we were writing that down on the sheet. The person who just created the fact now gets to ask his or her own question and let somebody else respond to it. The person who just created that fact now gets to ask his or her own question and let someone else respond to it. So what was happening? Anyone with a token may put forward that token in the middle of the table and claim the right to answer that question. Who is asking the question? The GM everybody takes 2 tokens from the supply. The GM starts the process by asking 1 question about the setting. They must be based on the previously created inspirations. Anyone with a token puts that token forward into the middle of the table and claims the right to answer that question by creating a fact about the setting. The best facts are evocative, concise, and specific. Anyone may offer suggestions, but you're the one who put forward that token, so you answer the question and you have the ultimate call on that fact. The person who just created that fact now gets to ask his or her own question and let someone else respond to it. Continue to ask questions and establish facts until everyone has spent both of their tokens. When that happens, some common themes will emerge. This step helps to express the unique character of your setting and ensures the world is filled with content that the group is interested in. This kind of collaborative world building thing reminds me of some stuff that Drake had said when he was on the General Geekdom podcast, that he was not a fan of RPGs and established worlds. And I kind of tend to be. Like, I really like RPGs or board games to help me experience some world, which is why I get the One Ring RPG to help try and experience that particular world. But he was saying he didn't like that because everything is known about that. So here is the system inside Fate, and now this revised chapter 2 of Fate, to develop a completely new setting. So your heroes are going to be at the center of it, and you don't know anything about it. So this does strike me as something that Drake would really like. Be considerate of the quieter members of the gaming group. This process is very engaging and exciting, which can lead to some people dominating the conversation. So Amanda asks why the nobility have so much power. Lenny pays a token and suggests they control the Guild of the Swordsmiths. Lenny asks what ethnic group are camped outside the city. Lily names them the Benari and the Naru. Lily asks who is corrupting the nobility, to which Ryan answers by naming the Cult of Tranquility. Ryan asks what marks the members of the guild, what marks members of the Thieves Guild, and Lenny pays his second token to describe a ritual scarring. Lenny asks what strange magics the Blade of Beland holds. Amanda responds they clearly steal their vitality from their victims. Amanda asks why people avoid the streets at night, and Lily describes the rodents of unusual size who devour the unwary. As Ryan has the only remaining token, Lily asks him to name the city, and Ryan calls it Greywall. So our established facts become the nobility controls the swordsmiths, the Benari and the Naru camp outside, the Cult of Tranquility is corrupting the nobles, the thief mark is ritual scars, the Blade of Beland steals vitality from their victims, rodents of unusual size feast on the unwary at night, and the city is called Greywalls. Step 6, create a title. This is the step where you get to step back and take a look at the setting as a whole. Consider all the facts and look at them to see if any common ideas emerge. This step helps you discuss all the facts and come to a common understanding of what the setting is about. Try to express that with a short and evocative title for the setting. Suggest a few short titles for the game and select the best one. You should now be able to express the core concept of your setting by stating your title followed by the genre descriptor you came up with. Title, genre descriptor. The group decides this game should be called Nightblades, Cosmopolitan Sword and Sorcery. Create sparks. Now you have a general understanding of the backstory of the game. This step is where you create sparks, the countless potential problems that might explode at any moment. They are the broad social, political, economic problems that could change or destroy a society as a whole. Maybe there's a major cultural clash, horrible disaster, or demographic shift. Corrupt regimes, organized crime, a new pestilence, or a new technology all have the potential to spur the protagonists into action. Creating these sparks is a communal responsibility. In this step, each player gets a chance to create 2 sparks. So the sparks are what? The countless potential problems that might explode at any moment. Okay, so creating sparks is a communal process. Each player has the chance to create 2 sparks. In the next step, the GM will select a few of these sparks to create an actual issues that are directly affecting the setting in the beginning of the story. I can see how this is much tighter than the microscoped RPG. I mean, this has a much more defined purpose. The world building is the purpose in microscope RPG. In this is designed to build something for the RPG you're about to play. I see there's a lot of discussion about the Dresden. I also like reading books out loud to people. Like I've done that with The Hobbit with a couple of girlfriends. It was fun. But James says, I really dig this style of setting establishment, microscope, and now this 10 Candles too. Yeah, 10 Candles did also have that element too. Yeah, I forgot about that. Collaboration is fun, and creative collaboration is that much more fun. 10 Candles. That one will be very hard to do online. It would be really neat to do a 10 Candles game for Good Night for Good Night Sword, for Dinner and a Board Game, but that one would have to be done in person. Captain Sonar would have to be done in person too. which means maybe it would be more difficult to do live. Go around the table, giving each player a chance to create their own spark. A player proposes a spark, and the other people at the table will check that out to see if it makes sense, that it fits the setting you've created so far, and the group is comfortable with the subject matter. When everyone agrees that a proposal is good, write it on a sheet under the heading of sparks. Once each player has contributed one spark, go around the table once more so that every player can write in their second one. You will have 4, 6, or 8 sparks depending on the number of players. Because there are 3 players, Lenny, Lily, and Ryan, we have a total of 6 sparks. Lenny says the Scar Triad dominates the criminal underworld. Lily says war between the Benari and the Naru. Ryan says prophecy of the doom that is to come. Lenny says noblemen are disappearing in the night. Lily says the Alchemists Guild discovered dragon's fire. Ryan says the first Benari joins the Guild of Swordsmiths. Selecting the issues. In this step, the GM looks over the sparks and chooses 3 of them to focus on at the beginning of the game. These become the issues which directly affect the current society of the characters. Each issue has its own aspect to represent the influence of these issues. Trey says, Arium Create is also good at this type of world creation. I just pulled that up in a separate window to look at. That says a simple game with infinite possibilities. This RPG world-building toolkit runs on pure storytelling, imagination, and teamwork. Oh, Sable's been looking at that. I had not heard that. Sable says, this sounds a lot like 10 Candles Declaring Truth step than it does Microscope. That could be true. It could be true. You may be right. You be right about that. So the game master is taking the sparks and choosing 3 of them to focus on at the beginning of this game. Those become the issues which directly affect the current society of the characters. Each issue has its own game aspect to represent the influence of those issues. First, she chooses one of the sparks as a legacy issue. This used to be the dominant problem in the setting and still influences the current events in a limited way. Perhaps some alien race went mysteriously extinct 50,000 years ago, or the human and elves allied into an old war against a dark god. While the events may be waning in significance, they left an indelible mark on the world. So first you choose, what I read is not sticking with me this morning. So one of the sparks is a legacy issue. Used to be a dominant problem in the setting and still influences the current events in a limited way. So the event itself is waning in significance, but an indelible mark on the world. Next, she chooses one of the sparks as a current issue, because we got 3 that we're dealing with, but in different ways, which is interesting. Next, she chooses one of the sparks as a current issue. These are problems that currently exist in the world and threaten to disrupt the status quo. Almost every character is shaped by the issue. I was actually on my mind as I was reading this, was thinking about, now, how could we film a 10 Candles dinner in a board game? That was what was on my mind. That one might take setup. Those are problems that currently the director of photography, Brennan, is up in Maine. He's gone back. He left his job not long ago and went back to being fully freelance. And he's up in Maine working on a feature film right now. How we shoot that would be interesting, though. I might need 10 cameras, 1 per candle. Can't do that. But it's gonna be difficult to film because it's gonna be dark. That's why I'm like, that one, if we're gonna do that one has to because of the way that it has to be filmed. And I've been told that some people have done this on YouTube before. We have to get it right. He might have a good enough camera to make sure that, if you have a terrible camera, You're not going to be able to see anything during that episode, and that's not going to be fun. Night vision cameras, PH says. Yeah, that would also be a step up. 10 Candles Trey says the few videos that I've seen were filmed from above. That could work. That might be easier. It depends on the quality of the camera, too. I'm going to have to think about that. I wasn't planning on going back to physically filming dinner in a board game. Another one that would need to be in the same room is Captain Sonar. Next, anyway. So the current issue, right. Maybe you were trying to build a unified alliance of countless alien races. So these are the problems that exist right now. Almost every character is shaped by this issue, either struggling to support it or to stop it from happening. Each protagonist needs to tie into the current issue in some ways. That's your player characters, and will likely dominate the first arc of any campaign. Maybe you're trying to build a unified alliance of countless alien races, or the dragon has reclaimed a mountain fortress. Last, she chooses one of the sparks as an impending issue. These are the problems and threats on the horizon. They are the seeds of future conflict and the unanswered questions that you may have to face. Perhaps an ancient and powerful enemy shall return to conquer your civilization, or some new region or religion will spread across the empire. Once you have chosen 3 issues, work together as a group to create a game aspect for each of them. Game aspect. Try to imagine situations in which the issues might act as compels for the protagonists or invocations for the foes. Write them down on the sheet under the heading of issues. So you put the aspects under issues. The aspect for the current issue will be felt in every scene of the game and will have a strong influence over the narrative. At the beginning of every scene, the GM chooses one of the 2 other game aspects to be in effect. At the beginning of each scene, the game master chooses one of the 2 other game aspects to be in effect. So the aspect for the current issue will be felt in every scene. The others will be brought in on a scene-by-scene basis. This means that each scene will either be looking forward towards the impending issue or looking back at a legacy one. Oh, that's interesting. Because the game aspects like that, if you're not familiar with Fate, you invoke aspects. And so like an aspect, we always talk about like something being on fire that you could invoke. But if you've got a game aspect, then it is something that is there and present, like because of the features of the game, which is what we were just building out, the features of the world that happen to be present in each scene and can be invoked. Each scene will have 2 of the 3 possible game aspects. These issues will challenge, and this is a much better way of doing the collaborative world building, I think, for Fate. It's been a while since I've read the other chapter, but it also takes time. This also takes a lot more time. Or have a candle card on the video. If it's not done live, then you can do post-processing. But I'm telling you, the post-processing of those shows took so long. Sable says, I think the only way you could really film 10 candles would be have a studio quality camera for every player focused on their face, with another focused on the camera, candles, and bowl in the middle. The shutter stop would have to be long to get high exposure. And that's why if you had a knowledgeable director of photography, they'd be able to do all of that. Trey says this. Good morning, Neutromancer. Neutromancer says, oh no, Trey says this book is a very long session 0. Yeah, it's a very long session 0. So these issues will change and evolve as the players interact with the world. Every time the group reaches a major milestone, each issue changes. The legacy issue will fade into history and the aspect is removed. The current issue will become the new legacy issue as it was diminished in importance. Okay, so major milestone. We're talking about milestone advancement. And of course, there's a lot more to that in Fate here. So every time the group reaches a major milestone, each of the issues changes. A legacy issue will fade into history and that aspect is removed. The current issue will become the new legacy issue as it diminishes in importance. The impending issue will become the new current issue, seizing the attention of the players. The GM will then choose a new spark from your list to become the next impending issue. Interesting. Amanda decides the legacy issue will be the second spark, the current issue will be the first, and that the impending issue is the third. But for the legacy issue, Ryan suggests the aspect should be the Bone War, the title for that conflict between the Benari and the Naru. Amanda agrees and writes it down. For the current issue, they decide that scarred streets would reflect the scarred triad dominion of the criminal underworld and its negative influence in the city. The impending issue inspired a lot of potential aspects. Lenny suggested that just going with doom, while Lily was considering the final prophecy. Amanda suggested they instead go with the doom that is to come, and the others agree. So the legacy issue becomes the war between the Benari and the Naru, with the aspect named the Bone War. The current issue is the Scar Triads dominate the underworld, and the aspect is called Scarred Streets. The impending issue is called Prophecy of the Doom that is to come, and the impending aspect, therefore, is named the Prophecy of the Doom that is to come, and the aspect is just called the Doom that is to come. Step 9, create faces. What are faces? Sable says, "Yeah, no, but you're talking about a lot. You're talking about a lot." Film grain look with the, although it's not all that difficult. If you're talking about post production, it's not that difficult to add film grain in post production. That's relatively easy. You could light it for a red or more modern camera, but we need to be in a controlled environment. That's what I'm saying. A sepia would look cool, maybe not necessary, but it would look cool. It's just a big deal. Maybe like one game every season or something. But also just that's a big deal. Dinner and board game would need to get bigger in order to justify that. But that would be cool. Like do one production quality game like that every season or every 10. I'm not really dividing into seasons anymore, but every 10 episodes. So Vanilla Fate Core has impending and current issues. Okay. I didn't remember that. On the other hand, the players should be well invested in the story because they are the ones who are creating it. That's true. Well, see, you could color grade it to a variety of different. You could see which one actually works best because the color grading would be done in post or could be done in post. Okay, so what are faces? Aspects are inherently nebulous things full of potential meanings. In this step, create a number of faces. These are characters who express those aspects in the story in a more concrete way. Each issue is represented by two different faces, one that defines supporting the aspect and the other that struggles against it. If the aspect is might makes right, then your two faces might be a vindictive criminal kingpin and a beleaguered judge. Both of these characters express the issue in very different ways. While these faces are important mechanically, don't worry about their formal statistics. They don't have to be a single individual either. A pair of ruthless lieutenants or a horde of minions would do the trick as well, so long as they deal support or conflict with the issue's aspect. Going around the table, giving each player the chance to claim at least one of the faces. Each person gets to create an evocative name for each face, followed by a single sentence description. They can also choose one particular skill the character has at a high level based on the kinds of activities that face typically performs. Since the GM is the one playing the faces, she gets to veto or reinterpret them if she sees fit. When you now have your 6 faces created, move on to the last step. Now the group gets to create various faces who represent the issues. Lenny creates Hugo the Charitable, a lieutenant of the Scar Triad. He supports the game aspect of the Scarred Streets, running the local operation with a cruel fist. His key skill is Provoke. Lily creates the Primarch, the leader of the Cult of Tranquility, whose identity is a mystery. He speaks for the doom that is to come and spoke the prophecy. His key skill is Lore. Ryan comes up with a sympathetic character, Kale Westall, to act as Hugo's counterpart. She isn't cowed by Hugo's extortion and will likely fall victim to an accident. She fights against the scarred streets aspect, and her key skill is contacts. Lenny, Lily, and Ryan create the next 3 faces in the same fashion. So 9 creating faces. Current supporter, Hugo the Charitable. Description, a cruel lieutenant in the Scar Triad. Skill, provoke. Impending supporter. Oh, current as in current issue. Impending issue. The matriarch. Descriptor, the Primarch. The descriptor, mysterious leader of the Cult of Tranquility. Skill, lore. Current rejector. Kel Westall, not cowed by Hugo's extortion. Skill, contacts. Step 10, create places. Everything in the game needs to happen someplace, somewhere, and this step helps you create a variety of different locations that have different meanings, deeper meanings. Each place represents one of the sparks generated in step 6, which is not yet an issue. They will represent the different potential issues and problems they have yet to emerge as full issues. Go around the table, giving each player the chance to claim one of the places. Each player gets to create an evocative name for their location, followed by a single sentence description. What does this place look and sound like? Any strange smells or tastes? How busy or quiet is it? They also create one situational aspect for that location based on the physical features of the place. Dark alley, frozen lake, or contextual details, suspicious townfolk, lurking terrors. Once again, the GM gets an opportunity to veto any location or aspect that she feels is out of line. Of the original 6 sparks, 3 have been used to create issues, and the remaining 3 define places. Based on the 4th spark, Lenny creates the Slate Streets. The noblemen use these as a secret rooftop pathways that the noblemen for their clandestine nighttime meetings. They have the aspect of treacherous, as many a nobleman has fallen from the roofs at night. Lily decides the Alchemist's Quarter, full of mysterious potions and perilous reagents, would be ideal for the 5th spark. The aspect for this neighborhood is exotic, full of strange elixirs and foreign traders. Ryan creates the final place based on the 6th spark. The Benari slums are the encampment just outside the city walls, where the Benari people maintain their community. It's dirt poor due to both the fallout of the Bone War and the city folk prejudice. Lou talks about going through the fake character generation process to create characters for fiction. I mean, you could also sit here and do this yourself for creating the world for your fiction. What is it you need to think about? Okay, and we've got worksheets right here. Yes. Using the worksheet. No, we know that. So this is but this is the summary. This is what we just went through. You start by listing your favorite media. Each participant lists one book, film, game, or a comic they want to focus on. Explain the inspirations from your media. Each participant creates one based on their media. Use those inspirations to describe the genre. Decide how epic or personal in scale your story will be. Establish facts about the setting, usually 2 per player. Create a title to focus your vision. Create a list of 4 to 8 sparks for the setting, each consisting of a different potential problem. Select the issues, picking 3 of them from the list of sparks. Create 6 faces, 2 for each issue. Create 1 to 5 places, 1 for each unused spark. What's the outcome? Thanks to this process, the GM will have a number of resources at her disposal to help run the game for the group. A legacy issue with an aspect, a current issue with an aspect, an impending issue with an aspect, 6 faces, characters who represent the major issues, 4, 6, or 8 sparks, potential issues that might appear in later arcs of the campaign, 1, 3, or 5 places that express those sparks during play. Creating protagonists. With all of that, you can move on to character creation. Whew! Okay, now that we've done all that, we can now finally move on to character creation. Consider how the legacy issue affects their character in their youth and how they are dealing with the current issue in their current day. Each protagonist should have some connections to the faces and places to tie them to the world on a personal level. If it's difficult to relate your characters to the setting, then you may want to rethink your protagonists or revise your game so it will make a better fit for the new characters. When you're making characters, you'll discover a bit more about the setting as people talk about their characters, about what their characters know and what their characters do. If anything comes up that should be added to your game creation notes, do so before pushing forward with playing the game. A big part, so skills and your setting. A big part of your setting is what people can do in it. The various skills and stunts that cover many situations, but you'll want to look over them to see if any don't apply or if there's a skill you need to add. Adding a skill is covered later in the extras chapter. Now go and explore your world. So basically, here's the worksheet example 1. But basically, I think we went through this during the whole thing. Select the issues, creating faces, create places. Worksheet example 2. Then go create fascinating characters in this world. So Spark, the role-playing game, a game of building worlds and challenging your beliefs within. Written and designed by Jason Pitra. Available at genesisoflegend.com. The Enlightened Man, a Renaissance superhero setting for Spark and Fate Core, written and designed by Brian Ingard. And then we get to our blank worksheets. Sable says, I'm not sure what it is, but anytime I've tried to get into anything involving Fate, I just don't find it compelling. And this is no different. It's not bad, but if I'm going to do this kind of thing, I'd rather just use Microscope. I will say that the Spirit of the Century has some of the best character creation ever put in an RPG, though. I don't know that one. Well, all right. That was interesting. I'm glad we looked at it, though. This collaborative world building idea, it really isn't something I've looked at beyond the first run through the Fate Core book where they're talking about developing the setting together. So thank you very much for the recommendation. I forget who that was, but thank you very much to the comments for the recommendation of this. Maybe today I will be able to think about what it is that we need to look at tomorrow and be a bit more prepared for it, because I've got this. I got to rewrite my morning grind notes for possible topics here on the morning grind. All right, so a lot to do here. All right, so I guess that was a bit shorter today, but that's okay. We go to the. Let me write down a note here. The link that we need. So interesting. I hope you all enjoyed this. It was also got me thinking about shooting dinner and a board game again. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Oh, not wonderful night. Well, wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Go be creative. Go be constructive. And grind on. Later, everybody.